On April 21st, 2016, a man was found dead in an elevator at Paisley Park. No will, no plan for an estate worth an estimated $150 million. For nearly 2 decades, Prince had waged one of the most radical fights the music industry had ever seen, a war against Warner Brothers over who truly owns what an artist creates. He warned everyone what was coming. Almost nobody listened. The silence that followed the emergency call on that spring morning exposed a devastating paradox. Prince Rogers Nelson had spent his entire adult life building a fortress around his music, fighting court cases, and rewriting the rules of intellectual property. Yet, the absence of a basic estate plan instantly transferred his life's work from his own hands into the custody of Carver County probate judges and corporate lawyers. The very system he fought to escape was now in charge of his memory, raising a quiet, troubling question. How did a man so obsessed with control leave his empire entirely unprotected? In June 1977, an 18-year-old Prince Rogers Nelson signed his first major recording contract with Warner Brothers Records. The agreement secured a 3-album commitment and an advance of approximately $1 million. To a teenage prodigy, the deal seemed to offer a direct path to creative freedom, but the contract established a standard industry arrangement that traded immediate financial support for long-term corporate ownership. Under this contract, Warner Brothers gained sole ownership of the master sound recordings. The masters are the physical tapes containing the actual recorded performances, the foundational assets that generate royalties, licensing fees, and commercial revenue for decades. While Prince won the rare right to produce his own music, Warner retained the ultimate authority over release schedules, marketing, and distribution. The label also secured publishing-linked rights, giving them control over both the physical recordings and the underlying musical compositions. This financial structure meant Warner would recoup its massive advances and marketing costs directly from Prince's royalties. The young artist was granted creative control in the studio, but the system kept the actual ownership of his art permanently upstream. He was a creator working on hired terms, entering a corporate system built to keep ownership in the hands of executives rather than the musicians who made the music. On June 7, 1993, his 35th birthday, the artist declared he would no longer answer to the name Prince. He replaced it with an unpronounceable glyph, a stylized combination of the male and female gender symbols. While the public and media mocked the love symbol as eccentric celebrity behavior, the decision was a precise legal countermove. Warner owned the trademark on his performance name, tying his identity to their ledger. Prince's official statement clarified his intent. It is an unpronounceable symbol whose meaning has not been identified. It's all about thinking in new ways. On February 22, 1994, the United States Patent and Trademark Office granted registration number 1,874,142 for the glyph. By securing this federal trademark, he built a defensible commercial asset, bypassing Warner's gatekeeping. On February 20, 1995, the legal battle moved from corporate boardrooms to the global stage. Walking out at the Brit Awards at London's Alexandra Palace, the artist had the word "slave" written across his cheek. The visual protest turned a private contract dispute into a public accusation of industry-wide exploitation. By using his own body as the canvas for his argument, he forced audiences to face the cost of these corporate agreements. When challenged on the radical nature of the protest, he responded with a simple, unsettling question. If I can't do what I want to do, what am I? The act of writing on his face was a calculated moral indictment. Prince was no longer arguing over royalty rates or distribution windows. He was asserting that the music industry's standard contract was designed to strip artists of their basic self-determination. As the music industry shifted from physical formats to the digital marketplace, Prince recognized that the battlefield had merely moved. In the late 1990s, as MP3 files and early file sharing networks grew, he warned that digital delivery systems would fail to compensate creators fairly. While others celebrated the convenience of instant global distribution, he saw a structural trap where artist bargaining power would evaporate. He understood that controlling the pipeline was the only way to protect future earnings. On July 2, 2015, he acted on these warnings by ordering his publisher to pull his entire music catalog from major streaming platforms, leaving only the artist-aligned service Tidal. The withdrawal was a calculated economic protest rather than a publicity stunt. Prince saw that bundling music into cheap subscription models would systematically erode the financial value of the recordings, proving that the struggle over master ownership had simply migrated to the digital cloud. Decades before the broader industry began protesting modern streaming payouts, he had already identified the new gatekeepers. Prince's response to corporate control was physical. In Chanhassen, Minnesota, he constructed a 65,000 square foot creative complex designed to secure total operational independence. Fully operational, by 1988, Paisley Park brought every stage of production under one roof. The facility housed advanced tracking and mixing studios, a Hollywood-sized soundstage, tour rehearsal spaces, and wardrobe workshops. It also served as the headquarters for Paisley Park Records. By centralizing these operations, Prince eliminated reliance on external facilities, managing the creative process from initial track laying to final master delivery. This was a proactive attempt to replace the existing studio system rather than merely complain about its terms. For Prince, owning the masters was only half the battle. True autonomy required owning the physical infrastructure of creation itself. Warner Brothers retained ownership of Prince's crown jewels, most notably the Purple Rain soundtrack, which sold over 14 million copies. The label also held the master recordings for 1999, Sign of the Times, and Batman. Despite constructing Paisley Park and working relentlessly, Prince could not simply record his way out of a contract that legally separated his artistic brilliance from the physical possession of his work. The tapes remained locked in Warner Brothers' vault. This catalog was the true prize, proving that even legendary labor could not easily reclaim what had already been signed away. On April 21, 2016, the fortress Prince built collapsed from the inside. By dying without a legal will, the artist who fought relentlessly for self-determination left his entire legacy vulnerable. His estate, valued at an estimated $150 million, was immediately swept into the machinery of the state. The probate court became the final authority to claim control over his life's work. Prince spent decades constructing a tight, independent circle. Yet his music, his home, and his unreleased vault quickly became the subjects of a sprawling, multi-year courtroom battle. Half-siblings, corporate administrators, and entertainment companies carved up the empire. The legal struggle over his legacy remains unresolved, a painful contradiction for a visionary who gave everything to own his name. In the end, the ultimate lesson of Prince's war was devastating. Without a clear plan, even the most hard-won rights will eventually fall back into the hands of the system. Yet the warnings he left behind have become the blueprint for the modern music industry. The digital future he predicted, where artists surrender physical ownership for fractions of a cent per stream, is no longer a warning. It is the daily reality for every musician uploading a track. Prince understood that the battle was never really about technology, but about who controls the pipeline. For generations, black artists built the foundation of American music, while corporate labels held the deeds to their work. Today, as new creators fight the same old contracts, Prince's radical rebellion looks less like eccentricity and more like a prophecy. Today, the battle lines Prince drew are standard industry battlegrounds. His warning remains our reality. Without ownership, creative freedom is just a lease. He paid the ultimate price to show us the system. Now, the choice to change it is ours. Share your thoughts below.